Hey students, you've made it to the videography section of the New York Institute of Photography. My name is David Spaltro. I'm a writer, director, producer based in New York City. I didn't know that I really wanted to work in film until I just found myself making my first film. I think I was always a storyteller first. I used to doodle, I used to write a lot. But one of the reasons why I particularly, I think, ended up in film is the collaboration. Film is a pretty collaborative medium, and I love working with the actors and the crew, and as a director, you're the person that, it's your vision, but you get to talk to everybody, and you get to have all these great artists surrounding you, and working with you, and you're kind of just talking and touching base with everybody. So I think I knew film was for me when my passion for storytelling met with also my passion for people. I think because there's so many moving parts with film, as much as I love the collaboration, I think that can make things very complicated, especially when you're in charge, if you're the director. But I think it's really very rewarding. Again, you're working with all these great people, and you're bringing something to life. It starts as an idea, as words on a page, and then all these different people bring their best skills together, and you're kind of shepherding it together to make this work. Time and money, even with great technology and even with really passionate people, you're constantly running under the gun to try to get things done and trying to fight your vision versus what you can actually achieve and still get stuff. Just to go out and do it. Things are getting cheaper, but you can always find somebody who has the materials or the equipment, or go rent it yourself. But just picking it up and doing it. If you don't have access to an expensive camera, use a flip cam. Use construction paper and markers, but just free yourself and allow yourself to tell your story however you can, with whoever you can, wherever you can. I think my particular strength, again, because I enjoy working with people, is my ability to communicate. Again, I think being a director or videographer is just communication. You have to communicate your vision or answers and make sure that everybody is on the same page. So the clearer you are with what you want and what you're trying to do, what your voice is, what your story is about, and the more you can communicate that to your crew, the less time is wasted, the less mistakes are made. So I think and also just working with the actors too, and getting them to a place, being able to just be confident without being cocky, and making it feel like everybody's part of the team. Everybody's doing a job. It's not just for hire. I think when you build that kind of sense of family or unity, you get the best out of people. They'll bleed for you. Plan ahead. Plan with your crew, but also to rehearse with the actors. It gives them a chance to be creative. If you're going to do any improv, if you're going to have them try things, if you're going to experiment, do that in advance, and leave it really open. You'll get some really good stuff, but when you get to set, let's everyone be on the same page and know exactly what you're doing, because you may only have X amount of time in one location, or you might, it doesn't mean that if something magical happens, or if something falls apart, you can't think on your feet and change it, but it means that's probably not the best time to be like, oh, what can we do? We have to go get what we need and move on. But having that well-oiled machine ready, and having that artistic freedom to play around with it and stretch it out a bit beforehand, getting that out of the way, and utilizing that pre-production time is essential, I think. There's 3 phases to be aware of when taking on any project. There's pre-production, where you've got your script or your outline or whatever you're going to go out, figuring out what you're going to do. You're putting your team together, you're scheduling, you're planning, you're getting the money, if you have any. And then there's production, which is when you're on set or wherever you're shooting, the actual making of it. And then there's post-production, what you do with the footage. You're cutting it together, color correction, sound mixing. So it's a never-ending process until you sit in a room with your friends or your audience and watch what you've made. And each step of the way, you're chipping away. It's almost like clay. So you start with this really rough or sketch of an idea, and then you're just kind of building it from there. You're letting other people bring their vision, and then in post you're whittling it away and finessing it. You're putting in the sound. You're creating this whole other thing from all these different pieces together. It's a puzzle. So it's a 3-step process that can be anywhere from 6 weeks to, it could be 3 years. It depends on how big the project is, and it depends on how much time and money you have to invest in it. But most of the things I've done have been 3-year processes from start to finish. I don't know if there's any better place to be a filmmaker than just the energy of the city, where it's a hodgepodge of everybody and it doesn't stop. And I think just the architecture and how every little neighborhood looks like a different city. I don't know if there's a better place for production value, or that just inspires great filmmaking. I think because it's so hard to be here, just live here and work here, I think that you have an edge, you have a passion, you want to be here and you want to tell your story. So you get these great independent little gems and little snapshots of life in the city that have definitely been featured in my own work. But that just and the crews here, you know, everybody seems to know everybody. It's a community, and I think you know, I can't speak for many other places, but I think that there's definitely something about that here and the intimacy of the city that really harbors that kind of unity. So if you're based in New York, I think you can find really good people and who just care about what they do and are really good craftsmen. No matter how well you plan a day, the planning is actually more so that when everything falls apart, you can make the decisions and everybody kind of already, you know, we have a little bit more slack. I've had people say, well, you know, if you plan and things are just going to fall apart anyway, then why not just go into it and just wing it? No, having everybody know and having everything planned, so when things maybe do fall apart or change, it's a lot easier to pick those pieces back together because everybody knew what we're supposed to do, and there's more room and utilities to do it. I don't think anything isn't autobiographical, whether you're taking a picture or painting a painting. The best work, it doesn't have to be completely about you, but I think it has to be your heart and your soul, or at the very least it has to be the way you see the world or see whatever the piece is supposed to be about. It's your own perception, because that's all you really have. You can imitate and you can do homages and you can be inspired by many different things, but at the end of the day you can only have your own voice, and that is the most creative thing about you, is how you say something, how you do something. So even if there's little bits of things that have inspired who you are as an artist or who you are as a person, at the end of the day what you're saying needs to come from you, it needs to come from your soul. So I think there's definitely all my experiences, all my memories, all my work, and how it makes me who I am, and then translating that into the work I do, whatever the story is. I think it's the only way you can attack it. And even if it's somebody else's project, if it's somebody else's script, if it's somebody else's thing, you have to bring that energy and that voice to it.
Musician.
Actually a filmmaker. Indie.